Good morning and welcome everyone to Schwab Live Daily. It's our Tuesday, June 9 edition of Trader Talk in today's market. I'm your host, Kevin Horner, live just outside of the Denver metro area. It is rainy and chilly and wet here this morning. I'm going to go on a limb here, Lee, and suggest that my guy Lee Bull out in California is probably not dealing with the rain that I have this morning. Is that fair to
Uh,
suggest, Lee?
it's sunny out here, Kevin.
You don't say. Yeah, that's the biggest shock. That's almost as big a shock as seeing some red on the screen
Yeah.
after the last week of rallies here, everybody. We'll talk about that momentarily. But let me just remind you to send in comments and questions in the Q&A space beneath our presentation window. Remember that all of your submissions for us are private. We like to answer as many as we can, but we won't be able to get to every question with so many of you participating these days. Also want to note some important disclosure detail. Just remember that our chat here is really educational and informational exclusively. We're really just trying to get a grasp of what's happening in the market, but we're not making recommendations here. We also do not encourage the use of technical analysis as the only means of your investment research. We will be using some ETFs to review sectors and categories of the market for you, though. If you're thinking about using these to invest, though, make sure you familiarize yourself with a prospectus prior to doing so. You can get a prospectus online anytime. We're available 24/7, of course, on the web, but you can also call anytime. We're available 24/7 that way as well. And as I noted, Lee, we have a little bit of a respite from the hot market action we've had of late. We're getting a good breather here in the market. I noted that earlier this morning, things weren't as hot in Germany today as they seemed over the last couple of days. That's for sure, though. But anyway, where did you want to begin today at this point?
Yeah, I just thought, several pretty good developments happened after our session yesterday, so I thought I would just quickly get everybody up to date. Probably everybody saw this, but if you didn't, the National Bureau of Economic Research, which is the one that calls recessions and expansion, confirmed the U.S. expansion stopped in February, and we officially entered a recession in March. This, of course, I think was pretty obvious, but just if you keep track of that type of thing, this brings to a close the longest expansion of economic activity in U.S. history. It lasted 10 years and 8 months. What was the second longest, you asked? It was the expansion that ended in March 2001, which was 10 years. Also, the other big announcement which had the market rally into the close yesterday was the Federal Reserve said it would make terms more favorable for its Main Street lending program, which extends loans to small and medium-sized businesses. They lowered the loan amount and raised the maximum loan limit. It extended the loan terms to 5 years from 4 years and will allow businesses to defer principal payments for the first 2 years instead of just the first year. The Fed chairman said the program is designed to help firms rehire workers. He said, quote, "I'm confident the changes we are making will improve the Main Street lending program to support employment during this difficult period," unquote. Now, actually, they haven't even launched this, right? $500 billion effort hasn't opened, but apparently they're going to start accepting loans which are arranged by banks relatively soon. However, just keep in mind that unlike the PPP, which is a paycheck protection program for small businesses, these particular loans cannot be forgiven. Um, However, they did try to make the program a little bit more attractive to a wider range of firms, and banks can sell up to 95% of those loans to the Fed to free up their balance sheets for even more lending. So um, just keep you abreast of that. All right, moving on to today's news. And as you said, Kevin, German exports declined by the most on record in April. They dropped by 24%. However, uh, I think that's in the rear view mirror. More current data included the release. This is something that Jeff Kleintop would probably follow. Increased the release of truck toll data, which historically has been correlated to the level of industrial activity in Germany. And the data for the month of May just came out, and it suggests that the German factory system is coming back strong. Total truck activity increased by the most on record in May, and it suggests a substantial bounce in German and also European factory activity. So we're getting a big rebound there. Uh, Domestically, we had the NFIB Small Business Optimism Index to slightly beat expectations. The JOLTS report is coming out now. It doesn't usually move markets, though. Also, keep in mind the Fed Reserve is starting its two-day open market committee meeting. Results will be tomorrow. Most are expecting Powell to continue to voice support, you know, QE infinity if you want.
I do
Naturally,
want
then, yeah, naturally, of course, the big risk would be if they said somehow that they are going to pull back on that support. We'll do a more detailed review of what to expect on charting the markets today. But that's all I got except for stocks in the news.
All right, well, let's get to that. Where to begin there?
Oh, just for fun. You and I have been looking at this one. You got to be brave to trade it, but Nikolai, NKLA,
Yeah, this had a hot day yesterday, to say the least.
up
Um,
100% yesterday.
Up 100% day, yeah.
Getting a little dark cloud cover today.
And that's not too much of a surprise on a
Uh,
100% rally day. I will say, I did note their CEO is put himself out there on Twitter, wants to be the most transparent CEO and most engaging CEO on Twitter, he claims. So that's pretty intriguing. We'll see if that results in really more transparency and how that impacts the stocks movement. But we know that CEOs do have the opportunity to move their price pretty easily, don't they?
yeah. Anyway, I
Interesting
mean,
chart.
yeah, it's. I mean, if you want to trade something like that, obviously small position size because it just moves and moves and moves.
Yeah, that volatility yesterday was off the charts.
Yeah. Same thing for Chesapeake Energy. Just to take a look at that one, CHN,
Sure.
just for fun. That's all.
That's an old school name, Lee.
It is.
There we go. Oh, oh,
They were up 100% something yesterday too.
yeah.
And and the news was they're preparing to file for bankruptcy.
Oh, well, that would explain. And now they're halted today, so they've not even
Yeah,
begun trading today.
yeah.
Um, that does. Okay, that's a rough boy. If you were long overnight and then you got walked into a bankruptcy proceedings thereafter, that's pretty rough,
Yeah,
isn't it?
speaking of bankruptcy, Tailored Brands, if you know that company, they own Men's Warehouse and Joseph A. Banks, symbols TLRD. They are also rumored to be filing for bankruptcy.
Right.
Okay, on the flip side, in retail, let's look at Macy's. So they're kind of on a tear here. They apparently secured $4.5 billion in new financing. So
Proving with
they
the chart
also
there,
had,
Lee.
yeah, they also had better than expected results for stores that have reopened. So I guess that's a momentum trade. You know what? We should start looking on these really parabolic ones. Let's also have the 5-day moving average up there.
Okay, do you want that as the simple? I have the exponential 5-day in there.
Yeah, let's try this simple.
All right. I'll add it by another method here. We'll right click, we'll go to add study, looking for trend. We'll find simple moving average and change this to 5. Let's make it nice and give me a color you like, Lee.
How about green?
All right. Like deep green, sure.
Yeah,
See how this looks.
yeah.
All right, so there you have it. Coming
So
up on it pretty quick.
yeah, just as a teaching moment, if you have these stocks that are really going parabolic, where the 10-day is lagging, A lot of traders will use. I mean, we've had generally stocks aren't this parabolic that we've seen in this rapid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the 5 day is also something that uh, you can keep an eye on for stocks that are really like parabolic to manage your risk.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, other stocks in the news. I searched and searched and searched, and I
Mm-hmm.
found a triple play.
I knew it was gonna happen. What do you have?
Coupa Software, COUP.
I'm sorry. Give me that one
Uh,
symbol again.
COUP.
COUP. All right. Did you really have to dig and dig and dig to find one?
Yeah, they're reacting like you would expect. They
Yeah.
beat on earnings, stronger revenue, raised guidance. If you're not familiar with them, this is yet another cloud company. They provide spend management systems, the link suppliers with companies. So
Cloud is hot.
nice pullback to the 20. Didn't close below that. Took out yesterday's high. This is a pretty good swing trading setup. Many traders had put a stop under the low of the pullback, which was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Yeah, and just see what happens.
Yep. That looks like a process that many traders would use.
All right.
Is that an all-time high, Lee? Probably. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
they haven't been around that long.
No, but that revalidates what you're seeing here.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Uh, Tiffany's, TIF. Uh,
Hmm.
okay, so they didn't have a great report, but
What is going on with my chart there?
uh,
Okay, so they had been. Oh, that's right. They were in buyout talks, weren't they? Weren't they going to be acquired?
yeah, and they came out and said just on their operating stuff that they missed their earnings by 44 cents on weaker revenues.
That's not as positive,
No.
to say the least. Okay.
Uh, Wendy's, WEN. Oh, they've come back big time, haven't they?
Yeah, that's a nice little trade if you had the chutzpah
Yesterday.
to participate at $7.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is kind of interesting. Um, they said that their comparable sales in May um, came roaring back, and they also said, which is, I think, this is the most interesting, and that's why I pulled it up. We've had this uh, question: Are the meat supply, what's going on with that, with all the virus in some of the meat packing plants? But they came out and said their beef supply has returned to normal levels. So that's why I kind of picked this one, which is kind of interesting. Looks like the 10 day is something you might want to follow there, huh?
I would agree. Yeah, the 10-day looks pretty interesting here. 20 is starting to flatten out, but I think if you're a trend trader, yeah, keep an eye on that 10-day.
All right. Let us move on to some of the analyst actions today. Those were our results. Let's see. We got Quest Diagnostics, DGX. Uh, all right, a little bit of a pullback. Maybe the 20 is in play there. Anyway, they were upgraded at least to market weight from underweight at Wells Fargo. So it looks like yeah, you got it right there, Kev, right
Yeah,
there.
right at the 20.
Yeah, so if it drifts down there, that might be a good swing trading setup that many traders would look at with a target of the old high.
Yeah, the 20 has been really well held here in the rally since April.
Yeah. Yeah. So watch that one for a potential entry. What you'd want to see, at least for many traders, we don't think we took out yesterday's high. That the tail was right at it, but some traders might put a buy stop in above today's high with a stop under the 20 because it might not get down there for a swing trading setup.
Yep.
Okay, eBay.
eBay.
You know, can't be. Put up the 5-day on that one too. Let's see if that's.
Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And if I hide the 10,
Other people are looking what I'm looking at. How odd.
but it's there's something to be said, Lee, for this momentum. The
That's right.
momentum of this particular rally, the 5-day, really very interesting in those that are trending
Yep.
strongly.
That's why I pointed it out for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, they were also upgraded to market weight from
Mhm.
underweight at Wells Fargo. In the oil patch, Occidental, OXY. I think a lot of the oil stocks are pulling back today a little bit. Yeah. So how would you like to be the analyst at Merrill Lynch? You put them today to a buy from neutral as the stock goes down 12%.
Always takes a little hit to the ego when that happens, I would think.
Yeah, another popular. So anyway, but that's to be expected. You always,
Yeah, this been on
a nice
fire.
pullback would give you another chance to take advantage of the breakout if it even gets down that far. Right now, it just filled the gap from yesterday,
Yep.
and you can see the
Good looking
5 day
chart
is
though.
coming right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
And
that
in
whole group has been flying,
Yep.
so you would expect a little bit of a pullback.
Yeah, and I've already looked at a number of the stocks in the energy sectors, and they're all making similar moves today.
Yeah. All right, Zynga, ZNGA.
That takes me back.
Yeah. Just took
This
out
one
the
likes,
5 day in the
I
pullback.
think this one likes the 10.
Yeah, it looks like the 10 is better here, huh?
Yeah.
So set your risk based on the 10. Try to see if it can hit the previous high. They were upgraded to an overweight at Barclays.
Just really quickly, Lee, I want to mention it even though we've been doing it, but I want to verbally call out the fact that this is very common, everybody, the way we will look at the trend analysis and try and find the right moving average for the existing trend. It's imperative that you pick the one that the stock is working with most consistently. Otherwise, you're at greater risk of being taken out of your position with your risk management strategy, your stop order and whatnot. So having these moving averages applied to your chart, having them hidden and then pulling them up to validate what you're seeing can be a really good process to helping you pick your exit strategy points on the downside, in particular, managing your trade appropriately. So I just wanted to make sure I called that out.
Excellent
Good.
advice, Kevin. Thanks for
Hey,
for
thanks,
giving
Lee.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the downgrades today.
Oh, there's a
Speaking
few
of
of those.
yeah, again in the oil patch. So they
Okay.
put Occidental to a buy, and Merrill though downgraded Chevron to a neutral. Let's see what's going on
Yeah.
there.
Well, just a small breather,
Yeah.
but I kind of like this area here for support, coincident with the
Yeah.
10-day and the
Yeah.
breakout here right around 96.
Yeah. That's still a good looking chart.
Yeah. Love to see it above the 200. But as you can see, it's not like it got up there in the past and has been able to maintain. It's been a struggle against the 200 for a while for Chevron.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Let's see. RBC Capital downgraded one of the home builders, which have been on a tail. They trail on a tear rather. They put KB Homes from outperform to market neutral,
Okay.
and we took out the 10-day. So
Yeah.
I think there. Where's the
Bet the
20 on that
20.
one, Kev?
Yeah, I bet the 20 hasn't been. No, there you go.
Yeah, so the 20 and the 200. It could drift down there, giving you a potential chance to re-enter it if you like the stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anyway, let's see. For some initiations and reiterations, some stocks in here. Amazon, you and I were watching that one earlier.
Always keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, it looks like
There you go. Breaking
it's
out.
breaking again. Yep. So why don't you do a measured move on that triangle for everybody?
All right. So the height of the triangle here from the breakout point 2200 to the prior peak was 2520. So 320 points, everybody. Add that to the 2520. That gives us 2840. We did just yesterday, wasn't it? That they had a price target bump to 3,000, if I'm not mistaken, or was that late last week?
No, you're right. It was yesterday.
Okay. All my days, I don't know about you, they're all just on top of each other. So that would, if I put in a measured move target, I'll use the horizontal line that's up here at around 2840.
Yeah.
That's not, as always, measured move. Just a reminder, measured moves are just an estimation. They're not a foregone conclusion in any way. That's just an area where traders who are buying the breakout might look as a target range.
Indeed. All right, let's
All right.
move on to Lululemon.
Okay. OBV and RSI are looking really strong here, Lee. This is
Yeah. So
holding up quite nice.
what's working there? The 10 or the 5? Or let's see.
Well, the 5 had been working.
Okay. So here's an interesting thing. I mean,
Yeah.
um, had you bought that last breakout, you would be taking a little bit off the table if you use the 5-day. If you want to give a little bit more room, you're still in the trade. It depends on,
Hmm.
because the 5-day was very good in that huge move, and now we got to pull back to the 10-day. So if you,
And it's even bouncing a little off of that ledge.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were reiterated outperform at Piper Jaffray, and then the last one we'll do is old IBD stock, United Rentals, URI.
Testing the 5, sitting right on it. 10 looms below. But the 20 has been the one that's been most held, I'll bet. Yeah. A little bit extended here, but the trend that you've had since breaking out of the 200, I think that many traders would prefer to monitor the 10-day here, Lee.
Indeed, indeed.
Real strong. Love that RSI and on balance volume again. We've been seeing a lot of stocks showing that kind of signal right now.
Yep. Anyway, they were initiated with an outperform at Baird. So that's all I got, Kev.
All
Let's
right.
turn it over
Well,
to you for the indices.
let's do our usual. We'll start out with the S&P. We can already see that it's has come off of its lows already. We're off about 1%, 30 points. On the chart, that doesn't look like much now, does it? Let's take a look and see if it's the 5 here that's been, and it sure is. Look at this action right since here, Lee, when we just poked our head out above these levels here. You had these double matching highs at around 29 and a half, 29.50. And then here on May 18, we poked our head through it. And then from there, we have just simply held the 5-day. Okay. Now, since that's May 18, that's 3+ weeks. I think many traders are just going to keep looking at that for now. I don't think there's any reason to get cute. Just stick with it as long as the 5-day is closed or closing above the 5-day. Many traders who have been sticking with it for the last 3 weeks would either reduce position size or take profits entirely on the break of the 5-day. It's all about your strategy and how you manage it. But it still continues to look really strong here, even in the wake of today's action.
Yes, indeed. We got a question about Canadian stocks. I thought I would just give you, we have a whole international department. A lot of them you can, on the Toronto, you can buy online, but you have to know the symbols. Let me give you the 800 number to call to, get tips on trading those. It's 800-992-4685. Again, that's 800-992-4685. They can give you quotes. They can tell you which ones you can trade electronically, which ones you got to do over the phone. That's the best way to get that information. I'm not a big Toronto trader, so I can't tell you off the top of my head, but there you go. All right.
Right.
Just wanted to cover that.
Check
Yeah,
out
I
the.
think you're right on that one. So
Okay, good. Well, we have an agreement on the S&P. Let's see what's going on with the Nasdaq, which did poke its head above all-time highs yesterday, holding the breakout as we speak. Note the 5-day here since the 15th. So this was a little bit of front running here on. It was the 18th. Excuse me. It was the same day. All right. All right. So the 5-day held quite nicely along the way up, trying to break out. But great RSI again on the Nasdaq. Great on balance volume on the Nasdaq as well. So continues to look really, really strong. Even though I know it doesn't always feel like it, and there's many of us out there that are still denying what they're seeing. But I would again just point out, denying what we see is really not a really good approach in trading. I've noted.
right.
I think we just go with what you see until it no longer works.
Yep.
So,
Let's take a look at see if the Russell's still outperforming.
all
I think
right.
it's
Well,
pulling
it's
back a
getting
little bit today
it's
with the
getting a
with
little
the
weak today.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the Euro stocks are pulling back. But look at
Right.
that, it still hasn't, even in this pullback, it hasn't violated the 5-day, right? Look at
No, it's right to it. In fact, it tagged the 5-day. So the 5-day is 1490, just under it, or 1491, just under 1491. Our low today is 1496. So we haven't even gotten to that spot. But as an outperformer, we are 3 closes above the 200. Pardon me, 2 closes. Today would be day 3. Tomorrow would certainly be a nice 4th day of closing above the 200 if we could get it.
that. Yeah. I guess we got another question. Can you buy fractional shares on Edge? You can sell fractional shares because you can say close all. To buy fractional shares, the only way you can do that right now, it has to be in the S&P 500. You can use the stock slices.
Yeah, and I noticed that they added that to my mobile app this week or last week. It's available even on the mobile, so you can just go through the whole process right from there if you want to get into the stock slices process, which is pretty
Right,
interesting way to
right.
get your
But it
money
has
spread across a few securities.
right. So it can't be every stock, but it's any stock in the S&P 500. All right, Kev, what's
Mm.
going on sector-wise today, man? Oh, you want to look at the
Well,
transports? Yeah, let's do that.
well, I guess we should just real quickly because they've been on a tear, and now you're getting that first real breather. Where did it pull back to thus far? The 5-day, right? Coincident with the 200-day as well. Again, we'd like to see this continue. We'd like to see this action above the 200-day in particular kind of hold form. That would be good. If it would pick the 5-day moving average as support here, as it has since this breakout began on the 18th, then this would be great. But couldn't we could even fill the gap in here and get back and test this breakout spot at 96.25 approximately. Let's see where the 10-day lines up. Maybe by the time the 10-day gets there, that wouldn't be so bad. That'd be a higher low in the process, so that would be okay. But um, you know, it's still looking really strong here. It's been a great move thanks to the jets, in particular the planes. All right, let's see what we got in the way of sector action. Our leader today is the VIX. We were talking about that how that spiked just a smidge yesterday during some of the rallies. The Nasdaq 100 leading us there, and a little bit in tech. So you can see from sector action, interestingly, everything is negative at this point, Lee.
Right. Although I think you're getting now back a rotation a little bit into the
Mm-hmm.
the mega cap tech stocks after we had the for the last few days you had the rotation into value. Now they're going back in there. Um,
Yeah, there wasn't much participation by the so-called FANG stocks, was there?
no, not the last
On the
couple
last
days, but
week here. Yeah.
right, because that's the rotation. So, but now they looks like they're rotating back. Um, Interesting there. Um,
Yeah, let's check since we've been talking about them, the ones that had been so hot of late, energy is taking a real breather here, 4%. But again, 4% feels big until you look at the moving averages and you realize, well, it's sitting on its 5 day. I mean, that's the 5 day is about as tight a moving average as you can find.
right.
Um, and the pullback yesterday's great day, wonderful tail. It rallied into the close, good finish. So the fact that it's doing this is totally within reason for a lot of traders. Now, 4% moves are tough on an overnight basis necessarily, but I can't really argue with what the trend is telling me here.
That's right. So what they're doing is they're just taking some profits on and they're rotating into what they had before. I think that's the. We'll see how long that lasts. It'll be interesting to see also going into the afternoon if uh, they're going to buy this dip or if they think it's going to go on for a couple days. It'd be kind of interesting to see. I don't think nobody knows right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if we started turning around again.
Yeah, just with the level of enthusiasm here, I would agree. Um, all right, and then the financials also doing really well of late, getting their breather today. Did run into the 200 here. Holding the 5 day would be really fantastic. That would be a really great indication of an opportunity to move back up through the 200 with a higher low setup here, Lee. But I'm not sure if the 5 is going to be that spot. What do you think?
Yeah, it might have a deeper pullback because right now you're still in the gap. It'd be possible to fill that and still be above the 10-day moving average. So anyway,
And then what else do we have here of interest? Industrial's also hot lately, so just a quick check here. Here's day 3 to above the 200.
yeah. So you can set your risks there. The
Yeah.
question is, will it fill that gap or not? The strongest thing, obviously, would be not to fill it and just stop right there at the 200. So
Yeah.
you could easily put a stop under the 5 day. You wouldn't be risking hardly anything just if you think the momentum's going to continue.
Mm-hmm. 5 day around 73.80. Low today is 74. And everybody, I love to come into my intra-period charts, looking at the 5 minute bar, and then start looking at levels that are being violated or levels that are being held. The fact that you're below the lows of this gap right here is pretty interesting because that could mean a willingness to allow this gap to fill. And that could bring it out back down to 72 and a quarter. And the one thing that stands out to me, Lee, is that volume is a little bit light here, so you're not getting a whole lot of selling into this just yet. So the next, 30 minutes to an hour, if you can maintain the existing lows, you might very well see it recapture S3 and kind of hang into this most recent positive action that it's had. So everybody knows I love looking at those 5 minute charts, but that's exactly why I like to I like to take the knowledge from the daily chart, bring that into the intra-period chart, and it tells me quite a bit about the way the traders are trading it at the levels that are important on the daily chart when looking at it on the intraday chart. If all that made sense.
All right, I got an idea, Kevin. Uh,
Yes.
let's be contrarian. All right, let's
Oh.
you just did the XLI. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it'll fill the gap. We always give the bulls stuff. Let's give the bears stuff.
Okay.
Let's do industrials in a bearish screen. How about
Okay. So
industrials uh,
below the 10 day.
just below the 200? Let's do
Okay.
industrials below the two. See if we can get any short sale setups.
All
Again,
right.
don't fight the trend, but we might have a little bit of a pullback, and we hardly ever do the bearish ones, as we shouldn't have, given what's going on with the market. But today we'll just
No
mix it up a
kidding.
little bit.
All right, well, this will be a little different than the majority of our screens because on the bear side of things, we do change all the criteria, of course. So we'll drill into the industrials, but we won't kick out any industries or sub-industries. We do increase the last trade to be greater than $20 a share. We do want 500,000 shares on average for the last 6 months. I've got them in a small
Yeah,
cap 6. Let's
let's
eliminate
take
that.
yeah, let's go with that,
Let's
and we'll
make
just
sure we
have
go.
yeah, take out that one and just put last trade under the 200-day.
All right. All right. So that gives us 18 matches, Lee. So last trade below the 200, enough volume, and poorly rated by the Schwab equity ratings, D's and F's. So we'll just check that out, hit save as watch list, and let's load that up over here. Well, you're right. We haven't done a bearish screen in quite a while, which is crazy under the circumstances.
Right.
I mean, if we were talking 3 months ago, you said, "Hey, Kev, don't sweat this. The Nasdaq's going to be at all-time highs. Don't worry." I would have laughed in your face. Wow, what a market! What a market! All right, Lee. Where do you
All right.
want to begin here?
Let's look at UPS.
All right. Okay. Man, what a rally that's seen too.
Yeah.
Banner day yesterday, inside day today. Eh,
Mm, I think what you could do, I mean, we are going contra trend here, so you have
yeah.
a real tight stop above the 200-day with a target of the breakout level. Would that give you a good risk to reward on that one?
Well, let's see. Above the 2, would you go above yesterday's peak?
It depends on the risk to reward. What do you think?
Well, down here at the 100, you're looking at 103.5. That's like a 4-point opportunity from here.
So you got to risk less than 4.
And then the high today is 109. So you're risking 2 if you use today's high. And that's pretty close to the 200. That's, 1 to 2.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I like that all that much. Largely because the action in here where I have the red line drawn in was a really good area of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks to me like that's likely to be a good support test. I could see it get to this ledge, but what I don't like is just the risk to the upside. If you're short, you do have more risk, so you'd obviously have to maybe pick a better exit strategy than even today's intraday high for the risk reward to line up ideally. But it feels a little tight to me, Lee.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if you looked at this, if this wasn't a D or an F, you'd probably think of buying it on the pullback, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a
Uh,
request for Boeing.
we'll talk about being on a tear.
Yeah.
This thing has just been crushing higher.
However, see, now this one's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
If you think that they're never going to recover their business as much, there's a again, you're fighting the short-term trend. So when you do contra trend trading, you just have to have tight stops. But certainly above that red line, will it stop at the 5-day if it goes down? Probably. I don't know. These aren't great setups. You're also not getting confirmation from RSI and
So one thing I will say is the high yesterday was 234 and change. This line's at 241.5. That's a 7-point move or 7-point discrepancy. So you could utilize, 2 of those levels if you really think that this is set up to fail at this resistance point. You might have 2 levels against which you would be exiting a short. Um, I think it's a little precarious. The momentum is pretty darn strong. You haven't even gotten a sell signal out of today's move, Lee. This thing was off. This was as low as 213, the low today. Is that right? Yeah, 213, which means it was down 16, 17 points. And notice the RSI hasn't even gotten out of overbought conditions, Lee.
Yeah.
So, many traders look at that RSI and they consider it a short-term sell signal when it gets below the 70 line. Well, it's not even done that. And as you can see, they've already decided to buy up the bottom there today.
Yeah,
So,
this wasn't the greatest idea of my life, but it's nice.
hey,
It,
you
it,
you know,
it's it's
you've
nice
been
to
doing a
look
lot of
though.
back padding lately, Lee. It's
Yeah.
okay to have a misstep every now and again. I think it's actually helpful because it reminds us, we don't want to fight the trend necessarily. There may very well be another chart in here that stands out much better, but I don't think it's Boeing necessarily.
No. How
Um,
about let's see. I don't want to do General Dynamics because that whole group has been on a tear. Let's do something a little bit. Try XL, HXL.
oh, I'm sorry. Was it XYL?
No,
Oh,
H. I'm sorry, HXL.
there we go. I see. It looks the same.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that XYL didn't quite look the same.
Yeah.
Now,
Now
see,
this
this
one's
is
a
a
little.
setup that looks a little different to me because you have already run into the 200. You've already retreated from it.
But you're at the 10-day, so
I think if I was going to pick a horizontal support line, probably be right in here, and that's at 65. So that's about a 4-point downside opportunity if it came below the 10-day. So maybe that's a momentum short sell
yeah.
through the 10-day down to the range there around the 50-day and the 65 and a half. That's a possibility. And what I mean there is you might only take the short once the 10-day gets broken, as opposed to doing it now. That would be a little bit risky because it could easily decide that the 10 is what it wants to hold.
Yeah, the only thing I would say on this one, which is different than the other ones that we looked at, is the last swing high, unlike the others, did not exceed the previous one back in April.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, of the ones that we've looked at, this is the weakest chart.
I would agree. I need to answer a couple of questions here, Lee.
Yep.
All of the saved filters that we go through on a day-to-day basis, they are not available there in Street Smart Edge. They're available on mine because I save them, of course. What I'd recommend doing is just taking note of the screener criteria here
Just
and
take a
build your own.
screenshot. Yeah.
Yeah, take a quick screenshot of this. What we do on the bearish and the bullish side is we just keep it consistent. We make minor tweaks as to what the current trend is, what is the group doing, and you might have noted that today, why we were looking at those in the XLI that are under their 200-day moving average. So that's one of those minor tweaks. But if you'll notice here on the bear side, volume's the same, the last trade changes a little bit, and we like D's and F's. On the bull side, it's last trade above 10, enough volume at 500,000, you get A's and B's, and that's just, very basic stuff. There are a number of available screens that I will mention here for you. These can all be utilized to offer trade ideas. If you hover over the title, you'll note that it gives you the breakdown of what it is using to screen, which is nice. But that's the list that's available to you. But in here, what I've done is saved everything, and I use it and reference it daily, to look for ideas. So I hope that helps out a little bit, Rena, with your question. Bill, your question on Recognia. If you reached out to technical support, I imagine you probably didn't get what you're looking for. Down below on the screen, I imagine we have a phone number out there for you, 800-435-9050. Give us a call to the active trader line. Just mention that you're looking for assistance with Recognia. You're much more likely to find a representative on our rather than our technical support group, but our trader support, who would have some insights on Recognia for you there, Bill.
And with that, Kevin, our time is up. What's coming up
All
next?
right. All right, up next we have Why Trade Vertical Spreads. That is with senior derivative trading strategist Nina Milatz. She knows her stuff, everybody, if you're wanting to learn about options. Additionally, later today, Lee returns for Charting the Markets, joined by Schwab Active Trader financial consultant Skylar Marin. So make sure you check in on that. Of course, Charting the Markets differs from Trader Talk quite a bit. So if you have the opportunity, I encourage you all to check that out. It's a great conversation that Lee does for us all daily. And with that, thank you, Lee, for joining as usual. Pleasure to have you with me this morning. Everybody have a great rest of your trading day. If you're in Colorado, stay dry. Otherwise, we'll see you all tomorrow morning for Trader Talk again. Have a nice one.
Take care, everybody.
You know that tech stock we talked about? I picked up 500 shares.
You get in at a good price?
Oh, yeah.
Schwab saved you how much?
It's time to trade up to Schwab, where you get price improvement on 96% of orders and commission-free online trades.
I'll take care of it.